Breaking news just into the newsroom tonight. We learned that the plane carrying a man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students has just landed at the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport.
We'll send it right over to our Jordan Smith, who has been awaiting the plane's arrival all day. Jordan?
Yep, Kirsten, plane not quite on the ground. Our photographer's tracking it right now. You can see it's right above the runway here at the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport. Very much everybody anxiously awaiting Kohberger's return here to Pullman. And as soon as he lands, it appears this plane is going to take him all the way down the runway. And there is a sea of law enforcement here, the massive presence that made themselves felt here around 5:15 p.m. And we'll keep tracking this plane here. It looks like it just touched down here at the Pullman-Moscow Regional Airport. So we'll keep tracking this here for you. And it looks like it's going to swing around to the terminal behind us. It's dark out. We may not be able to see it, but there is a large gathering on the tarmac behind us here. Our photographer will track that in just one moment here.
And Jordan, we know that Kohberger has had a long journey back to the inland Northwest. He took off on a plane early this morning from Pennsylvania, and that is where Kohberger was arrested. He made a midday stop at Willard Airport in Champaign, Illinois. And then we know that the same plane that you're seeing landing right now at the Pullman-Moscow Airport refueled and continued on its journey. It took off and flew to Rapid City Airport in South Dakota. And finally now at 6:23 p.m., we are seeing Kohberger make his descent back into the inland Northwest. This is something that 4 News Now has been tracking for you since the arrest was made on Friday in Pennsylvania. We now know that he's back here in the inland Northwest, and we will continue to see what happens next in what some are calling one of the largest cases that we've seen in the inland Northwest.
And Jordan, can you just break down what's going to happen to Kohberger now that he's officially on the ground?
Absolutely. Well, now that he's back, it's expected that huge law enforcement presence is going to escort him 8 miles away into Moscow, into the Latah County Jail. That's the area he's going to be processed. And that scene over there, we mentioned it many times today, very hectic, a lot of media waiting all day from about 7 a.m., 8 a.m., waiting for his arrival here in the Palouse. And because of how late he's arriving here tonight, it's unlikely that he's going to have a hearing. That'll likely be tomorrow. So he's going to be processed. And at this time, now that he is officially back here in the Palouse, once he crosses over to Latah County, of course, he will be served that Idaho arrest warrant. And then the affidavit of probable cause will become available. So by tonight, we should have more information on his arrest now that he's officially back here in the Palouse, as he's pulling up into law enforcement right there.
We know that it is about a 12-seater plane. It's a smaller plane. It's a turboprop plane. It's owned by the Pennsylvania law enforcement. Are they pulling up to a gate, or will they have to roll out a ladder to get people off this plane? Can you tell from your position?
It's tough to see right now. It looks like they might just pull out a ladder here. They're swinging the plane around here, but it's tough to say from this angle here. There's a lot of cameras up here on the highway, right next to the shoulder of the road. We're down below, kind of by this barbed wire fence, so tough angle from here to tell. But it looks like they will probably pull out a ladder, and he will get off, be loaded into a car, and then from there promptly escorted into Idaho.
And Jordan, a lot of questions surrounding when and how Kohberger would make his way back to the inland Northwest. As we saw in Pennsylvania, as they held that press conference this week, talking about how they made the arrest there, but how important it would be to transfer Kohberger back here so that he could even see the charges that are awaiting him. But really, at the beginning, we had no idea if it would be by plane or if he would be driving back here, or if they would be escorting him. We're just seeing the plane making its way back, touching down. We see a lot of law enforcement in the area. What has the scene been like? What has the energy been like there at the Moscow Pullman Airport?
Very anxious. A lot of people anxiously awaiting Kohberger's return, as we've said. And you know what's so fascinating about this is as we mentioned, this is so unprecedented here for our area here to have such a high-profile case make its way to the inland Northwest, more specifically here to the Palouse. And so I think it's been an anxious return for Kohberger to be back here in the Palouse. We said this at the top of the 5 and at the 6 o'clock show that he left the inland Northwest as a graduate student at Washington State University. He's returning facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony burglary charge. And so it's just a very interesting, really unlike any kind of presence we felt here in my experience being in Moscow. It's a little bit tense, highly anticipated return. We're all very anxious and eager to learn a lot more about this arrest, why police were so drawn to Kohberger, and learn more about that later tonight.
And this could have happened, this happened fairly quickly because Bryan Kohberger waived extradition, meaning that he did not have to, law enforcement in Moscow did not have to go actively pursue him.
Right.
He kind of gave up his right and says, okay, yeah, I'm going to go back willingly. I'm not going to fight this.
Exactly, yeah, and had he tried to fight this would have been a much longer process, estimated to be at least a month, because it would have had to go, that process would have gone through the Idaho governor's office, through Brad Little, and then the extradition process would begin from there. But because he waived this, he had 10 days to return here to Latah County. They were able to make that process within about 24 hours of his last court appearance yesterday in Pennsylvania. And so, yeah, very quick process. As soon as he gets loaded up here, we're going to take off and head over to the courthouse. I believe we have a camera waiting for his return there.
That is correct, Jordan. We do have a camera there, and we will continue to follow this every step of the way. We have followed it from Pennsylvania back to the inland Northwest. We see some people walking.
Yep, it looks like he's just gotten off the plane here. They're escorting him off the tarmac there, and he's going to be put in a vehicle here. I'm not sure how well we can see that here.
Looks like we can see he's wearing an orange jumpsuit, Jordan.
Yep, that appears to be him loading up into a car. There's a plane in my way, but it seems like you guys have a much better view from here.
Yeah,
we saw him briefly.
Yeah, we are seeing a group that just walked from that plane over to, it looks like, a vehicle where they are loading Bryan Kohberger, again, the suspect in the University of Idaho quadruple murder case, back into that vehicle, and he will be taken to the Latah County Jail, where we will then see as soon as potentially tomorrow morning, Aaron, we could find out a lot more about this case.
And the police have told us before that the newest information we are going to get is going to be from court documents. So everyone has been kind of waiting for this moment, and this is just the first steps now that he's on the ground to kick off that discovery of the evidence that brought him into that police focus, that microscope that they reached out and grabbed him with that DNA evidence through genealogy and found him all the way in Pennsylvania. So this is really the start of, hopefully, what a lot of people want is more information.
And let's not forget what this really is about, because we're going to continue to hear the name Bryan Kohberger over and over in the coming weeks. This is really about 4 young people whose lives were cut short: Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Goncalves. And we're going to continue to follow the story. Again, we covered it from Pennsylvania back here to the inland Northwest, and we will continue to reach out to the families of the victims. I know that they are probably watching this unfold tonight. It's an emotional moment for so many in Moscow. And again, we will continue to follow this for you. 4 News Now, we'll be right back.